What are the 7 things that I predict will change? And what is Google and DoubleClick going to do for that? And I'll just add that I'm incredibly excited about these changes. I think there's a lot of opportunity to improve the market and to make big changes and improvements in terms of how inventory is bought and sold. So the first is inventory should be frictionless when you're buying it. You shouldn't have to be able to have RFPs. You shouldn't have faxes. Everything should be online. You should be able to just go in, buy your inventory via an online interface. All of the creatives should be checked automatically. So I keep saying to the product teams that I work with on DoubleClick, if we know that a campaign is being scheduled in DFA and the publisher knows that it's going to come, how come we're emailing the tags? Why don't they just show up? One of the things I've learned from growing the search business and growing the AdWords business is that the scalability of the businesses really matter. By making the businesses more scalable, you can have more advertisers, you can have more campaigns, and ultimately you can have more revenue. So as part of this frictionless buying of ad inventory, I'm very, very pleased to announce that today Google announced earlier, and DoubleClick announced earlier, that we have the first rewrite of DoubleClick for Publishers by Google. It's written on Google technology, and it's one of the largest integrations that we've had to date between Google and DoubleClick. One of the things that we've integrated into this is a much better user interface that's faster. It fixes a lot of the issues, and we've put more than 500 hours of UI time to try to make sure that we're getting it right. So let me be really, really clear, too. When I say that we want to offer frictionless buying of ad inventory, we don't want to automate the creative process. We're not trying to say we shouldn't have all of the wonderful creative work that makes this industry such a fantastic place to work. What we're saying is we should have more time spent on the creativity and less time spent on the billing and less time spent on the paperwork that's required. So recently, Think Equity came out with a report that said 28% of the costs in online are going to administrative costs, whereas TV has only 2%. We need to be able to get to 2% in terms of buying online inventory. That's one of my predictions. We need to be at 2%, and that's one of the things that I'm committed to doing, is building a much better online interface and much better online tools so we can buy direct inventory at scale in a much faster, more efficient way. The second prediction I have is that there will be billions of dollars found from much better insights. We know that on the publisher side and on the advertiser side, all of us need to have a lot more insights. If a publisher, for example, could know all of the things about where the inventory is sold, which parts of the content are generating the most revenue, which authors generate the most revenue, which are the advertisers that generate that revenue, and where are the cities that those users are coming from. There's a lot of opportunity for publishers to be able to manage that inventory much better from those insights. You might even, if you had those insights, be able to know things like, should some of that inventory do better behind a paywall, or should it do better from an online advertising? There's a lot of insights, and those insights should not be, you shouldn't have to be a statistician, you shouldn't be a rocket scientist to have those insights. The next big thing is we predict that there will be a lot more revenue from sophisticated yield management. And as part of, oops, sorry, I forgot something important, very important. With DoubleClick for Publishers, with the new version, we are introducing more than 4,000 times the amount of data that will be available to publishers in those reports. So publishers will be able to get all of the insights that we talked about. They should be able to see the sections that are generating the most revenue. We'll be able to see what parts, where their users are coming from, and where the advertisers are generating that revenue. We also, to enable that data to be used even more, have a API, a very robust API that we're announcing too, that already has a number of usage so that any kind of developer can come and use the API and build on top of it so that all of the additional things that might not be in DFP that you wanted are accessible and will be usable for you. And now for this slide, which you already saw. We think there'll be a lot more revenue from sophisticated yield management. If you are a publisher today and you are generating and managing your yield by using a spreadsheet, then you're losing money. And if you're a publisher and you're managing your inventory separate from your ad server, you are also losing money. And you don't need to ask me that. You could ask anyone who's a mathematician, anyone who knows how yield management is done and the best ways to optimize inventory. You want to manage all of your inventory together. You don't want to just manage one part of it. Because if you are, you're making a decision beforehand about which inventory should be managed where, and already you've lost some of that potential revenue. So one example would be if you have a huge amount of spike of inventory. So for example, the Michael Jackson's funeral. You have a lot of premium inventory. That inventory may not be, you may not have been able to sell it all. You can't go out at the last minute and sell it direct. But yet you don't want to give it necessarily to one network. You want to be able to give it out to a variety of networks to bid for it on an auction basis, and that way you can ensure that you're generating the most revenue from the inventory. And it should be integrated, again, with your ad server, so whatever's not sold by your direct sales team should be able to go out to the auction. We have seen that more than 130% increase when inventory is sold from the auction as compared to being sold directly by the network. So basically, the prediction number 3 is that everything should have sophisticated yield management, and it should all be managed together. So the fourth prediction is that there should be thousands of display advertisers. There's no reason why there are not more display advertisers. The display advertisers, the only reason that there isn't is because it's harder. We've made it harder. The industry has made it harder to be a display advertiser. So one of the goals and one of the predictions I have is that we make the systems work in a way that anyone is much easier to come on and create an online ad. You should be able to do that quickly and easily. Ads should be high quality. And ultimately, this generates more revenue for publishers. Publishers will benefit from having more advertisers competing for their inventory. Users will benefit from having ads that are more likely to be relevant to what they're looking for. The next thing that we think is really important is having perfect ads for users. So all of us have our perfect ad. Every single time we're looking online, we're all looking for something, and there's something there that would be the perfect ad for you. We've been really excited about a lot of the technologies. The contextual, which is something that AdSense pioneered, has been successful. We've seen lots of promise there to do even more. But we've been really excited about interest-based advertising, which is what we rolled out last year, and the ability to do that at scale. One of the things that we see is with the advent of real-time impression-by-impression based bidding, there's a lot more opportunity to do the granular bidding that didn't happen in the past, and that make the ads much more relevant for the users and advertisers many, many more controls to be able to reach the users that they wanted to.